FPS on life.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Christian Mims and I am all of these things and I am working on a game. Now, everyone knows that if you don't make a devlog, then you didn't actually make an indie game. So here we are. As of right now, I have finished a proof of concept for a first-person shooter, and I'm currently in the process of upgrading some of the mechanics and finalizing the story. And what I want to do is get some of the visuals like in front of people and try to get some actual feedback. Because one of the hardest things about indie game development outside of like actually developing the game is that you're kind of stuck in a vacuum until you actually do stuff like this, which can be hard because sometimes people aren't very nice. And sometimes people just have bad opinions. Like they'll give feedback, but it's like, this sucks, which isn't helpful. But let's just talk about the game. So I am really bad at elevator pitches, but here's my first attempt for this game. It's a first-person shooter set in an atmospheric cyberpunk hellscape where you play as Private Alexei Taylor, a coalition soldier who has one mission: find the Crystal Rose. However, after his plane has crashed, he doesn't know who he is or what his objective means. With the help of an AI companion, Alexei must battle robotic monsters and ancient cyber demons in order to complete his objective and potentially save the world. Basically, it's a linear FPS with an emphasis on story, and there's boss battles. So my game is being made in the lovable underdog open source engine Godot. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Some of them are related to Unity's business practices, but for the most part, Godot's node structure just fits with my development style. And Godot also offers a lot of like little things out of the box that are just so useful that even though the editor has some issues, I can just kind of easily look past them. Basically, it's just a nice engine to use, and I don't have any major issues with it so far. Now, why did I pick a first-person shooter for my first game? Well, I actually picked it because it's easier to make than a third-person game, mostly due to the camera. It's easier to hide stuff from the player, and you don't have to like build as much in 3D space. You only need to really build what the player can see. It's the same thing for third person, but it's just easier to hide stuff with a first person camera. Also in game development, we talk about scope a lot. And basically an FPS can have a very limited scope. So that was why I wanted to go for a first person shooter. It also, really the main point is that it fit with the idea that I had. The game is called Barrage, which is just a juxtaposition of barrage and bash, which is sort of the idea, I guess, like behind a lot of the level design and how you're essentially pushed through tunnels and caverns and you have to fight off like hordes of mobs. There's also boss battles and stuff, and I don't know, it just made sense to make this game an FPS. Okay, so what do I have so far? Well, I've been working on this game for about 3 months, give or take. And I'm finally at a point where I'm basically like dragging and dropping stuff into levels. I have a bunch of stuff programmed and ready to go. I've done a lot of the heavy lifting already, and everything is much more componentized and cohesive. Now, there's still a lot of things that I have to work on, even with this first chapter. But I have like a part of a script. I have like an outline ready to go. I have the chapter one script finished. And I can build levels so much faster now, and I have a lot of the mechanics in place. A couple of mechanics that I'm still working on are things like items, weapons, and armor upgrading, which leads me to the next section. So balance is incredibly hard to do in video games. Even AAA studios apparently have a hard time figuring out just something like weapon balancing and figuring out how to like ease the player into a steady progression. Balance is also something that's so foreign to me that I don't even really know like where to begin, which is why I haven't really started yet. So far in these demos, you've only seen one gun, and that gun is incredibly overpowered. But in the future, that gun is going to actually be like really weak. But what I want to do is I want to give the player basically a ton of like double-edged swords, so to speak. So I want weapons that shoot farther to be weaker. I want weapons that shoot closer to be stronger. You know, you've probably played a first-person shooter before, but like, you know, in this game, there's a mechanic where like you don't have ammo. But basically, the limiting factor for your gun is how fast it heats up. So, what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out how to balance that properly. Basically, I have to take into account the gun's damage, its range, how fast it heats up, and also how fast it cools down. And then, like, some other factors as well. And then basically try to build weapons that have clear advantages and clear disadvantages to where it really boils down to like your specific play style. So take the Panther Axis, which is this mini boss, and you can only damage him whenever he's in this translucent phase. So you could use like a shotgun type gun and do more damage at a close range. However, the Panther Axis is much more effective at close range, so you're much more likely to die. Or you can run away from it and do less damage over a longer period of time with a gun that fires from further away. So like you're safer, but it takes longer and there's more of a chance that you might mess up. On top of all of that, your guns and your armor will be upgradable. So some upgrades will give you stronger ammo, or your guns won't heat up as fast, or maybe they'll cool down faster. But again, the game is about decisions. So like for every buff, there's a debuff, and that's going to be the main sort of design principle that I want for these things. So for every buff, there's a debuff. And like right now, I'm thinking that there could be like an upgrade where your gun does more damage, but it heats up significantly faster. And just with that upgrade alone, I now have to figure out how do I make that upgrade worth it, but not to a level that feels overpowered. You know, so like if I give you a gun that heats up really quickly, but does a lot of damage, like is the damage output over time going to be different than like a gun that heats up slower? Or are they almost going to have like the same level of damage output over time, which then makes both guns completely pointless, you know? So it's a hard thing to figure out. And I don't want there to be an obvious choice of gun in this game, which is incredibly difficult to do. And I'm probably going to have to do like a lot of math. But on top of that, you know, I also mentioned that I need to add items to the game. And currently there's no grenades or even health packs. So what I'm waiting for is, again, this balance to sort of come together, probably with the guns first. And, you know, again, to go with that philosophy of like every buff, there's a debuff. Basically, in this game, your health packs are going to hurt you in some way. So, like, you might heal yourself, but your stamina will drain faster for some period of time. Or if you boost your stamina, your health will drop faster. And I want to provide situations to the player where there is a clear, like, okay, so based on my play style, using a health pack in this fight is like obviously the right choice. Or like I really need more stamina to kind of like move around this boss, and it's like I know that I'm good at avoiding this boss, so I'm going to take the stamina potion or the speed potion in this fight because I'm less likely to take damage, just because like that's how I play. So I don't know. It's tough, and it's definitely like the last thing I think on my list for now. But that's one thing that's like it's kind of a looming threat. So final thoughts for now are basically I'm really stoked about this game, even though the graphics aren't going to be the best. Um, I've learned so much about game development, and I have a really nice like flow and pipeline set up for this game. And I have all the bosses that I want to add figured out and conceptualized. The story outline finished. So really, it's just a matter of like modeling the next 4 levels, the next 5 or 6 bosses, and then making those animations look good, and then just putting everything together. Probably add a few more mobs, and then just finalizing a couple of like really small mechanics here and there. But it'll be done soon, which, maybe it's a vast oversimplification, but it means that I should hopefully have some more progress videos, which will actually look good, coming out hopefully on a regular basis, at the very least, like a monthly basis. But yeah, I hope this video was fun to watch. I know this was more of like a dev vlog video, but if you're also a developer, then hopefully you got something out of this. If not, oh well. No, let's not say that. Hopefully you got something out of it, more so than just me talking about a game for a couple minutes. But anyway, yeah, hope to see y'all again, and thanks for watching.